Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next 2 hours, along with Spence.
Good morning from beautiful Broome County, upstate New York.
And Gally's here.
Good morning.
And do I see Nick there?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Hey.
Spence, you're in my neck of the woods. That's great.
I am. I can see your
Okay.
house from here.
Now I remember. Now that Nick said that, I remember that you said that you were going to be up there. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software, Wirecast, Telestream's Wirecast Software, and sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So, yeah, Spence is up in the North Country.
Not the North Country, the North Country.
North.
Yeah, the North Country is like the Adirondacks. That's like that's the North Country.
Yes.
Oh.
And the North, that's up in Alaska.
Yeah. So, how are you connected? Are you on Wi-Fi? Are you on 4G?
No, I'm tethered to my iPhone.
Huh. Look, you look good. Video looks good.
Excellent quality. I'm using my Lenovo laptop, working great. And I tried to use the USB headset mic, and it just wasn't working right. So I'm using this microphone in the laptop, which usually isn't that great.
You sound pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a ThinkPad. I forget what model it is. It's an X1 Carbon. It's one of the older Carbons.
Oh, those Carbons are real nice.
Yes, it's an earlier generation, but it's works good.
Nice.
I'm sitting on the dock here out in front of the lodge that we're staying in.
What county are you in?
Broome County. We're out
Broome County.
near Deposit, New York.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what's up?
So Spence, remember the specials last week? There was the Logitech keyboard with the switching capabilities.
Yeah, the Bluetooth. Yes.
Yeah. So I bought it, and I like it.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually bought it via Amazon. It was the same price, so it's easier that way. But it's just, I mean, it's plasticky, so the build quality isn't anything to speak about, but it's really comfortable. It comes with a stand for the phone, so typing on the phone, which is weird, bizarre, and very convenient at the same time. Looks like magic, yeah.
But it spoofs everything to keep it connected, right? So
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, you can have three Bluetooth devices connected, and you can just switch using you say which one is active by hitting one of those blue keys, right?
Right. Now I'm not using, so obviously I'm using Bluetooth for the phone, but it comes with one unified Logitech Unifying adapter.
Oh, it comes. I didn't realize it was both.
Yeah, it's both, and I got it hooked up to a second unifying. You can the whole idea of the unifying adapter is that you can attach additional additional periphery, right? Keyboards, mice, and all that. You can add up to 8 to a single adapter. So I hooked it up to another computer. That's why I bought it. I have a server that sits behind the table. I can switch to the screen to see it, but to control it, I usually had keyboard in a wireless keyboard in one of the drawers, take it out. So now I have a keyboard that I can use on the main computer. I can use on the server, and now I also can use it on the phone. So it's really nice. Yeah.
That's a Bluetooth KVM.
Yeah. Basically, it's a built-in Bluetooth KVM with support to the Logitech Unifying adapter. So, yeah,
And
the Unifying, I mean, I gotta hand it to Logitech. The moment I understood what the Unifying adapter did, I stopped buying any other keyboard and mice, like wireless.
Can you
Because then,
explain?
yeah, so Logitech has this technology they call the Unifying adapter, and it's a small Bluetooth dongle. Let me show. It's this, has this symbol on it. They actually had something before this called a nano adapter, which had a similar concept, just it wasn't that well fleshed out. This is their latest generation, but this is what's been around in the market for the past 4 or 5 years, something like
Okay,
that.
so what's the difference between it and Bluetooth?
I can't say there's a difference, but this is Logitech's proprietary thing. It comes with a Windows software. I guess it has software for Mac as well. It comes with a piece of software that allows you to, one, configure all of the keyboards and mice that's hooked up to it in a rather simple way. So if you have media keys or anything, right, the Logitech software will allow you to do that. But it allows to hook up to 8 peripheral devices, compliant, compatible devices to it, and that means that it can connect to multiple keyboards, multiple mice. So, for example, in my case, Spence, while you're not speaking, put it on mute because any movement we just
okay, sure.
yeah, it's distracting. So while in my situation, I have a server which is way back, and it has a Unifying adapter hooked up into it, and I have because I had the other devices in the past, so I already have a Unifying adapter also on my main PC, and this allows the keyboard, this specific keyboard, to be hooked up to both. Now, even though I didn't buy the keyboard with the adapter that came with my PC, all I need to do is just pair with them. The application Logitech provides allows you to pair with them. It's a really simple process. You just enter the application, you tell it to pair, you switch on, you switch off your keyboard, and suddenly it's hooked up. So
okay, wait, hold a second. You bought that switcher, right?
no, the keyboard, yeah.
You were talking about that switcher from last
This
week.
is
Oh,
this is
the keyboard with the switcher. Okay,
right, and you
now,
see the
now,
3
wait,
buttons
yeah,
over
yeah.
here.
Okay, hold it.
They switch between it.
Right, but wait a second. What if you didn't have that, and you're using that Unifying adapter, and you have 2 devices? Can you use one keyboard with both of them, and some other way switch between, like a KVM, or at that point it's one keyboard, one dongle, one keyboard, another dongle?
No. So if I had a regular KVM, right?
No,
then
with this.
no. So the Unifying adapter is on the computer side,
Okay.
on the receiver side. that receiver side can hook up to 8 devices
to one
So-
to one PC.
to one PC. Right.
Okay.
That means
If you have headphones and you have a microphone and you have
well, I haven't seen them use headphones for this. They only do it for keyboard and mouse, as far as I know. Maybe game controller. Okay. So the idea is that it can host alternatives.
that
It usually doesn't make sense. I agree with you.
Gal,
And
Gal,
usually
the
a
thing-
keyboard.
God,
Yeah.
the thing is, if I'm not following you, then there's a lot of people that are listening that are not following and don't understanding what this is all about. Nick, did you get the basic thing about this unifying thing?
It's there's nothing to get. It's a USB adapter that plugs
Right.
into a computer, and there's software that allows you to collect multiple devices. That's it.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say. What is the reason I'm saying this is because Gal said since I found out about the unifying adapter,
Yeah. So instead of
I did not
instead
buy
of-
any more other stuff.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So
So every keyboard, right? Every wireless Logitech keyboard can
Hmm.
hook up to this device. That means
without having to put in another dongle, that's the
Right.
benefit. Instead of
Right,
having to
so you
have
can
6
have-
dongles on your computer, you just have
So-
one.
if I have a wireless mouse and a wireless keyboard, I don't need 2 dongles.
Right.
One is enough.
Okay.
And that second dongle that I bought, because I get a dongle with every device I buy,
Hmm.
I can hook it up to a laptop, and I can make that laptop also connect to the keyboard that I already have, for example. Right?
Okay, so that is what I asked. If you
Yeah.
did not have those 3 special keys on the keyboard,
the
can
device
you?
itself can hook up only to one at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
A regular keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the confusion is that this is an architecture. First, the unifying adapter is the architecture that lets you connect devices. The keyboard that he purchased just happens to be a participant in that architecture. It's not the thing that's driving the architecture. It has unique capabilities in that it has a Bluetooth switcher built into it, so that it can select between 3 different devices from the keyboard itself.
Right.
The unifying architecture itself is an overall design that lets you use all of the different Logitech technology.
Or any other
My only question is, how do you switch if you have dongles in 2 or 3 different computers? How do you assign? Is that the unifying software that lets you assign what keyboard works with what device?
Yes, you need to use the unifying software first.
Okay.
So, well, I mean, they have the updated version of the unifying. The moment I plugged in the dongle in Windows 10, the Logitech software suggested I install it. Once I click the approve button after the software installed, then it gives you some configuration. First, some configuration about whether the function keys, it uses the function keys, and the media keys are laid out on the function keys. So whether to use it function keys first or media keys first. And the switcher itself, I don't know if this is visible,
Mhm.
but as you can see, it's part of the F1, F2, F3 buttons.
Right.
So you need to press the function key. You see that large key there between the control and alt.
Also, it's a function key. It's not the
Yeah.
F keys.
So so it's either or either, right?
Okay.
So when it's set up to F keys first, then you need to hit the function key
Mhm.
to switch. Otherwise, let's say on my phone, there's no reason to use the F keys
Yeah.
first. So I just press the key to switch. So in that way, they made it quite comfortable. It's not too hard to understand. On the phone side, it took a bit. There's one thing I needed to get used to. The home key goes to the voice assistant. In my case, Google Voice Assistant. or I guess on a Samsung it'll be Bixby, and instead of the home screen. And at first I thought that's uncomfortable, but then it makes more sense than going to the home screen and using the keyboard for something that it's built to use with touch. So having it ask you for a voice prompt, while
Yeah. Yeah.
unnatural, it actually works very well.
Yeah,
So,
it makes more sense. You're right.
yeah.
So John is he says, so can a single keyboard connect to multiple devices? And I guess it is
No.
well with this, obviously with this
Well,
keyboard.
this keyboard can.
Yeah.
But a regular wireless Logitech can only hook up to one adapter at a time. So the moment you pair it to an adapter,
that's it.
It disconnects from the other adapter
Yeah.
that was already paired.
So do they make any kind of external switches like what's built into the keyboard that one can use in order to just like a KVM switch?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I haven't seen anything like that, but I'll research that. One thing to note, I'm partly a Linux person, and Logitech doesn't provide any Linux support.
Mhm.
That means it doesn't mean that the adapter doesn't work. The adapter works as a human interface device. So Linux works with the keyboard. I mean, I can edit the BIOS with it. It's not a problem. But in order to pair, there are open source applications for Linux that can do that pairing operation that only the Logitech proprietary software does on Windows and Mac. So you're not completely locked out if you choose Linux.
Mhm.
Obviously, they're not officially supported, right? So,
Well, that's what makes it interesting.
yeah, exactly.
And
So
what about range? Any different than Bluetooth?
It's pretty much the same. I have the first Unifying controller I bought was for a Logitech keyboard with a mouse pad that's integrated, and I use it in the living room for a media PC. And the range is okay-ish. We sit, I would say, 12 feet away
And
from the
there's a wall
TV.
in between.
No, we're inside.
In front of his TV.
Yeah, no, you're sitting on the couch, and the TV is in front of you, and the computer is beneath the TV.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
yeah. So for 12 feet, 4 meters, something like that, it works okay. There's spots in the room which are a bit further away, and if I hold the keyboard with two hands, it's thinner than this one. Then I noticed that it's like masking the signal. So sometimes you see keys not. So it's okay-ish. It's
Okay.
not perfect.
All right.
I've recently had a problem. I've got this Vizio smart TV thing I bought a couple months ago, and it's got a I think it's called SmartCast is what Vizio calls their technology. But inside of Chrome, I can cast any tab or video or even a desktop to the TV, which is super convenient.
It's
As
basically built in Chromecast, no?
It is built in Chromecast, exactly.
Yeah.
But I've been having this problem on and off for a couple of weeks now. I've never really used it before. I started watching a couple TV shows that I'm streaming online, and it's easier to cast them. The audio and video is out of sync until. So it's weird. So if the TV's got Wi-Fi and an Ethernet jack. So if I'm on Wi-Fi and I'm streaming a show which is streaming a Chrome tab to the television, the audio and video will be out of sync for a couple minutes until it buffers, or it'll skip, and then the audio video will be perfectly in sync.
That's
And
strange.
obviously that's frustrating. Now, with Wi-Fi, I can kind of force it to do that right away. And once it's connected, remember, I'm not watching individual shows. It's casting the tab. So once it's in sync, it's in sync. It doesn't matter. But on Ethernet, it doesn't buffer at all, and it's permanently out of sync. So, and I can't find any solutions to this online. I don't know what the hell the problem is.
On my
Um,
Vizio TV, there is a synchronization slider you can use in audio.
yeah.
Because that's especially intended for HDMI, because sometimes there's a delay.
Yeah.
But it might work with that.
I tried that. The problem is the sync varies because it's almost like a network sync delay. That's the weird thing. It's not consistent. The
Right.
delay will ramp up, the delay will ramp down. It's not, and then sometimes it won't do it at all. And normally the fix is to just start and stop the cast like a dozen times until eventually it's in sync. It's very bizarre. And I haven't found any solution. So my solution is I'm putting a computer over there, and I'm just going to hook it up via HDMI and call it a day. It's super
if you look-
frustrating.
What if you hooked up a Chromecast? Does that have any built-in memory that would allow it to buffer?
I probably could hook up a Chromecast. I don't know where my Chromecast is. So I'm going to try the TV option. I guess I could order another Chromecast and give that a
Yes,
try.
you can.
I remember now what the audio syncing was good for. I have a sound bar.
Yes, that's exactly what it's
Sound
for.
bar, and that's where you had to use it.
And I did test that too, because I do have a soundbar, and I started reading about you're right, Spence, because I read about the audio sync and it said that's what it was for. So I disconnected the soundbar and tried it with just the regular internal speakers, and it was still that same offset of delay, but it's inconsistent. It starts and stops, and there's no rhyme or reason to why it does it sometimes or doesn't do it other times. It's just really weird. It could just be this computer. I have no idea, but it's really frustrating.
Some NSA employee who's really bored at night, who randomly finds people and injects delays into their stream just for fun.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering what it might be, and it could be a router issue. It could be some type of QoS thing that's going on.
Yeah.
The weird part is I've done a bunch of Googling on it and Binging, and there's not another post that I can find of somebody having the same problem. There's a whole bunch of people bitching about, the audio and video being out of sync, like what you were describing, Spence, with the sound bar or the Chromecast functionality not working. But I can't find anybody else that's having this weird, like, maybe 3/4 of a second sync thing that's inconsistent, comes and goes. It's pretty weird.
So, Nick, are you saying that it's because you're casting the tab, and
Yep.
after a few minutes it'll fix itself?
Because the
wait.
stream will,
But then if you switch to another tab and come back to that tab, is it still synced, or you have to start all over?
well, that's not, so Chromecast just syncs one individual tab. There's no way to switch tabs. You have to stop and restart. So you just
Oh,
have one Chromecast casts one tab, and I
Okay.
can watch as many things in that tab as I want, and they'll all be in sync once it
Once it's synced.
buffers and catches up to itself. And on Wi-Fi, it buffers. It'll kind of skip like right away. Right when you start streaming, it skips within the first like minute. But on Ethernet, it doesn't skip at all, and it never corrects itself. It's stupid. I don't know what the hell the problem is. Maybe it's my router, but I don't know. But it's very frustrating because obviously I'm watching a show and the lips being out of sync with the talking is very distracting. It's almost unwatchable.
But just keep your eyes closed.
Yeah, I mean that is a solution. I'm gonna hook a PC up, and I ordered one of those keyboards that's got the little trackpad built into it, and that's gonna be my solution for now. Which really, really pisses me off because that was one of the reasons I bought this TV.
We're having one problem with sync with TV, and it's the TV set-top box is hooked to the TV through HDMI. the soundbar is hooked to the TV. We also have, once it comes out of the back, oh, no, it doesn't, it's not the same. There's coming out HDMI to the TV in the living room, and it goes through coax to the TV in the kitchen. And it's always on the same channel, obviously, so we can watch it in both places if you will. But the audio is not synced. And I have to play with the Samsung also has that slide that you adjust the sync, and it does vary. So most of the time it's okay, but many times you sit in the living room and somebody's in the kitchen listening, and you can hear like an echo because
Oh yeah,
it's
because it's on coax, it's analog, it's quicker
Yeah.
audio.
yeah, that's weird. But yeah, that's the only time I've seen this. Kathy does casting from her phone, and I don't. She never said anything about it, but maybe she didn't pay attention or it
Yeah,
didn't bother her.
I'm glad you said that. I haven't tried from another device yet. I'll try from my laptop and see if it does the same thing. I mean, I don't know how this computer could have a problem. That would be
Mm,
that would be odd. But man, I don't know. But very frustrating.
I can imagine.
We'll solve it with a HP desktop. That's the solution to the problem.
Or a 5-pound hammer.
Well, yeah, but what do I hit? The TV or the computer? Or the router or the modem?
No, you hit yourself in the head until it sounds right.
Now, you know what? I'll tell you what, that's not a bad solution.
Earplug. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. All right. Let's see. Nick,
Sir.
you wanted to be reminded about Office 365 on Android.
Oh, geez. I mean, so okay, Gal. So here's my Android gripe of the week. So, I'm an Apple guy. I had Androids back in the day, and I've had a couple of iPhones now. Big fan of the iPhone, but I've got this new S9 with work. So we use Office 365 for our email and our calendar. Fantastic, right?
We do that as well. Yeah.
Great. The calendar built into the phone, which is Samsung's calendar,
Mhm.
does not sync the Office 365 calendar. It just doesn't. There's no way to do it. You can't add it. It's not a thing that can be added. I have to use the calendar in the Outlook app, which works fine, but doesn't do the same amount of system notifications as the calendar built into the phone, as you would expect. And I downloaded about half a dozen calendar apps from the App Store or the Play Store, and none of those do it either. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what the hell I'm missing about trying to sync my Outlook calendar with a calendar on the phone that I can set as my default calendar. Am I missing something?
So, is your organization using what Microsoft is calling the company portal, the protection ecosystem?
I haven't heard that be
Probably
said.
not.
So
No,
probably not. Then.
Yeah. So I just don't remember right now how it's called. It's like remote mobile administration.
Okay. Yeah. No, they don't use that.
Okay. So as far as I know, if you don't have it in the accounts option, I'm looking if I have it here. Yeah, there's an Office account, and it doesn't say. Yeah, you can do something external. Just sync your Google Calendar with your Outlook calendar via iCal.
That was exactly the solution I found online, and I found that to be the most piss poor solution to the problem. That is without going on a rampage about it. That is exactly the piss poor solution why people go with iOS.
Why?
That is not, because that's not a solution. Syncing your Office calendar with a Google Calendar to get it to show up on your phone is stupid. Why can't the default calendar sync?
I don't see the problem.
Because I already have a working calendar. Now I've got to sync it with a Google Calendar to get it to show up on my freaking phone.
No, but you have two things. You have an application.
Yeah.
Right. And you have a backbone. Microsoft didn't do the work to hook it up. I don't know why. Maybe it makes sense to them, maybe it doesn't. I don't really. But the thing is, even though Microsoft didn't provide a solution on the application level, right? You still have a solution.
There are solutions out there. I don't find any of them sufficient.
Could it be
There's-
that the
Yeah, go ahead.
issue is trying to unify multiple calendars? That was one issue I had, where I had a Google Calendar and my phone calendar, and I tried to get them. I used CalDAV for a
Mhm.
while, and I could not get anything to sync properly. I had to actually have two calendars open. I can get stuff to be represented across calendars, but I can't get it so that one unifying calendar will accept and be updated all the time. But
What
now
I find,
I'm not in an enterprise environment, so that's what's different for me. I'm doing this all by the seat of my pants, but
what
it
I
was
find,
really hard to have more than one calendar synchronized.
yeah, I don't know how. Were you on iOS or Android?
iOS.
Yeah. What I find odd about it is on iOS, you go into the accounts tab on the phone and you can add any email address and then select what you want it to sync. So in the case of in the case of a work email address, if you use the Outlook app, right, your phone's got a built-in mail app, and then you use the Outlook app, you can add the account to the device and say, don't sync the mail, don't sync the notes, don't sync the contacts, just sync the calendar. And that works out really well. And Android looks like it's got something similar. It has a similar accounts connection tab inside the settings, but for the life of me, I can't get it to sync the calendar. And the solution, Gal, is exactly what you recommended, which agreed is a solution, but I don't understand how there's no way to sync the Office 365 calendar with any other calendar on the device.
Well, I can say for sure that's a choice by Microsoft. Has nothing to do with the Android architecture. And to demonstrate it, I'll explain. If you install the Facebook app,
Mhm.
it has calendar syncing. So all of the events in Facebook, they can show up as a calendar in any of the Android calendar applications. I'm guessing that in Apple they hook it up because Apple probably doesn't allow any other calendar application or something, and so that's the only solution for getting notifications or something like that. So they were forced to create that. Doesn't I mean, I like it that my work calendar and life calendar is separated, so it was never an issue for me, but that's it's definitely an issue with the way Microsoft implemented their app.
It couldn't be that Google never put the work in to try and.
No, it doesn't have to do with anything with Google because a lot of other so if you go to your settings and you go to accounts, there's a list of all of the applications that have what they call account synchronization. And that's where the Android system manages all of that. Google has its own, and within it, you'll see all your Google accounts. There is one for Office, and it says just Office. It doesn't say calendar. So if you have another application, I don't know which, because I don't think I have others that do that other than the Facebook app, which I already removed. So I remember Facebook would do that as well. It works pretty well, and you can choose what to sync and what not, right? I'm guessing the Microsoft didn't want the OS to choose whether a sync is occurring or not, and that's why they didn't implement it. Why would they do that? I have no idea.
I don't know. It seemed and I'm not a programmer, but it seems to me that the problem will be on the Android side because the data of the calendar is available out there. It's in a certain format, but it is available. Anybody can read it that has permission to read it, to
Well,
suck it in. It
it's
seems to me
definitely laziness on the application developer in this case.
that's what I'm saying.
The
So
OS
that's
itself provides it.
It may not be laziness, though. It may be I won't say it is an intentional strategy, but there is no overwhelming reason for them to go out of their way to make another company's product work flawlessly on their platform.
Right.
Yeah.
I would
So
go for that.
that's
Yeah.
just, they'll do it out of complaints from their good customers who want to integrate. But I wouldn't say they spend a whole lot of time saying, "Gee, we need to make sure we keep up with our competitors' releases so it all works."
Yeah, Gal, because it's not like Microsoft has to do somersaults in order to bring it into an Android. It's the
That
Android that has
that
to do the somersaults and say, okay, we have that chunk of data out there, and this person wants to bring it into our application. What do we need to do to take this data,
no.
sort it out, put it in the right format for our application?
So don't confuse.
Okay.
It's not our application. So it's like there's an interface for managing events, right?
Mhm.
Managing a calendar. The OS exposes that interface. Now it's on the application side to choose whether to use it or not. It has nothing to do with the application itself. The calendar application, which there are numerous, there's not just one. There's a whole slew of calendar applications. If you buy a Samsung machine, then you get the Samsung application. If you buy a Pixel machine, you get the Google application, right? If you buy an HTC one, you get the HTC version of it. They just communicate with the operating system, which does the syncing and provides the data structure.
Right.
So again, it's a choice by the developer. And in this case, the developer is Microsoft. Microsoft is just hosting their application on this system. By the way, the Microsoft application, the Office Microsoft application, they are light years away, right? Than counterparts. So Microsoft definitely knows how to build Android applications, but they, in this particular case, they chose not to, and I don't think they've ever communicated why.
Oh, so Nick, are you using the Microsoft app on the Android?
What?
Are you using the
yeah.
Microsoft 365 app on your Android, or are
Yes.
you using something from somewhere else?
Yes, but no, all this conversation is moot because inside. So okay, agreed. Microsoft may not be doing what they need to be doing on the application side, but I go into settings on my Android phone, go to accounts and backups, go to accounts, and I see my account, my Office 365 account is listed in there as a possible account with auto sync data on, and it does not sync my freaking calendar.
Yeah, okay, so that will
Right,
be
but when you
Microsoft.
go in, right?
And this is an account I added through the accounts. This is not pulling it from Office 365. It was in here before I installed the Outlook app. So why is it not syncing my calendar? Why is there no option to sync my calendar?
Oh, why? Oh, why?
But it's just
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so freaking frustrating.
Yeah, especially when you spend a lot of time on it trying
It's
to
on the
figure
account for the phone. And all the other accounts that are in here have calendars syncing to the default
Right.
calendar app. But for some reason, this Office one does not sync.
Have you searched for auto sync application in
Yes,
the Play Store?
yeah, I
And
have.
and none of them provide that
No.
solution?
I haven't found one that actually works. None of them work with two-factor authentication. They all
Okay.
freeze when you try to do two-factor.
With two-factor authentication, you can usually get an application token from the Microsoft website. Have you tried that?
But I mean, no, I haven't, and I'm not going to. I mean, I'm not gonna put that much time into it.
Well,
It's just
look what John says in the
yeah, but that's a totally
yeah,
different
it is,
thing.
but it's interesting that it'll work from one side but not the other.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Office 365 has got its calendar syncing issues. I mean, I dealt with one this week for a customer of ours. It's just frustrating that there has to be a workaround to get a freaking calendar to sync.
Nick, you need to run Office 737.
Yeah, I mean that might be.
Problem.
Yeah, that's a good. I'll see if work will get me an upgrade for that. So, You know, I'm not my goal here is not to dog on Android. I'm not an
Yes,
Android
it is.
hater.
No,
it's
no,
not.
I
It's not. No,
understand.
stop. Yeah, I'm not an Android hater. I just my thought is that if I am struggling with this, I can only freaking imagine what other people are having to go through. I just don't know how this has become such a complicated task.
The larger the organization, the more beef they're going to put behind fixing it.
Yeah.
So
And
you
I
just
just
don't-
Well, there's an additional aspect here that you need to. So as I told you, I've never had that issue. The reason I've never had that issue is because from the start, anything that has to do with my work information is completely controlled by my employer.
Yeah.
Right? They have admin rights on my phone, which is the phone I bought for myself, and they can wipe out everything work related remotely.
Yeah.
So let's say they terminate my employment, God forbid, right? Then they, with a push of a button, everything that has to be that is work related is removed from my phone immediately. And so I'm guessing Microsoft didn't implement that just for that. So they have full control of the data that is from the enterprise side. It sucks, I agree, but I don't know why it's working that way in iOS. So maybe in iOS the control is either more granular, or the solution is only Apple based, because that's the only admin that is allowed on the device.
Apple was hammered when they did not have. They were trying to make big inroads into the enterprise space,
Right.
and they didn't have this kind of control. They were hammered. This is a number of years ago. They had to do this because the iPhone went from being a personal device to a corporate device, and they had to do it, and they had to make it work.
Well, all right. Now everybody should listen to this. D-Link won't patch a critical unauthenticated command injection vulnerability in its routers that could allow an attacker to remotely take over the device and execute code. The vulnerability, which the number CVE 2019, whatever, exists in the latest firmware for the and either come back and write it or write it down. DIR 6-655, DIR/866L, DIR 652, and DHP 1565 products, which are Wi-Fi routers for the home market. D-Link last week told Fortinet's FortiGuard Labs, which first discovered the issue in September, you remember we talked about this, that all 4 of them are end of life and no longer sold or supported by the vendor. However, the models are still available as new via third-party sellers. So, yes, D-Link is not supporting them, is not selling them, but they are available all over the place as new. So if you, and they're not going to patch this vulnerability. So if you are partial to D-Link and you like D-Link and all that, make sure that you're not getting a DIR 655 or an 866L or a 652 or a DHP 1565 product, because they are vulnerable and are not going to be patched. So you should know about this.
Yeah, I think D-Link is not where would go with my first choice anyway.
Yeah, I know, but some people do. Some people like them.
I still have a couple of them that I used to use in trade shows, but they're very, very old. They're just sitting in a box.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like they could get a programmer to sit over there and just write a little patch that will be available as an update. So what if you don't support it anymore? I mean,
I wonder.
Microsoft just patched XP. And yeah, they don't support it. They don't sell it. Nobody's selling it, but they did.
Think about how bad that must have been that they did.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is bad. See, that's my point. That they don't consider it bad because they want people to buy newer routers. Come on.
Yep.
Especially when this is for
Wonder-
home.
I wonder
Well-
if EWRT is available for the D-Link routers.
Yeah, that's what I was about to suggest.
Yeah.
Just flashing it with an alternative open source firmware. But yeah, that needs to be researched whether it's available or not.
Yeah, but you see, but again, that's great for a techie. That's not a solution for your average home user. To do
That's true, but then again, a home user will probably never hear this either. The news. I mean,
Yeah, that's right. But they're still vulnerable
yeah.
if they have one of those.
Well, even if they even if they did have a solution, right? Just upgrading the firmware is not something that happens automatically anyway on a router. So it requires involvement from the end user. So writing a tutorial on how to flash DDWRT is probably a better solution than doing nothing.
Well, I mean, at this point, I would think that you go and you buy another $40 new non-D-Link router.
Yeah. In any way, they're talking about one of the routers there is 12 years old already. So
yeah, no, I understand that they are. Yeah.
No, but it's I agree. It's like
if it serves the
How-
purpose.
How in today's world will a 12-year-old router really work? Because of all of the high density Wi-Fi environments that they cannot deal with. They cannot be working well.
Right.
It's just not possible.
It all depends where they're being used.
Well, maybe if it's a 12-year-old router, it's N or G, and that does not coexist real good. I mean, if you get a new router today, you want to make sure you turn off all the legacy support if you can, because you're just dumbing that router down to the point where it will be almost unusable.
Hmm.
To take advantage of the new features and the new standards, the AC standard, you have to turn off, for the most part, legacy support.
Yeah.
So, if you do have a need for a legacy device, you take an old router, you set it up in a special environment, you have it closed off somewhere just to support that old device, but don't have it on your new device, new router, that you dumb the whole thing down because of this one device.
Let's get a little bit out of this here. The Supreme Court on Monday cleared the way for blind people to sue retailers if their websites are not accessible to these people. In a potentially far-reaching move, the justices turned down an appeal from Domino's and let stand a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal ruling holding that the Americans with Disability Act protects access not just to restaurants and stores, but also to the websites and apps of those businesses. So apparently, there's already a rule that says that websites are supposed to be accessible. Yeah, I don't know if I would call it handicapped accessible, but it's accessible to people that can't see.
Now, what happens if the website is this website that sells artwork?
A good point. Yeah,
What
I mean,
happens if
there's
it's a
gotta
website that
be-
sells
there's got to
videos?
be exceptions. Yeah. Oh, I tell you what you have to do then. You have to get a monitor that is a braille monitor. And you can just kind of feel the monitors, I'm being sarcastic. But
I bet they're working on
it's
technology like that.
it's interesting
is.
that that the apps. I mean, you know that the stores are already. I mean, every store has to have all kind of rules about being friendly to handicap. So that's interesting, but it is far-reaching because it could be abused by certain. Just like you said, what about art? Well,
But then again,
yeah,
they said that a potential customer can sue for that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty certain that a blind person wanting to buy art online, right,
I
wouldn't get to wouldn't have a case.
they will
So,
not
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
But
exactly.
that
That was
doesn't
probably
matter because from a law perspective, they don't take that into account. You either do or do not support.
Yeah.
that's not true. That's
your
not true.
website.
No,
I
they
mean,
don't. They don't because they're not technical.
that's true, but still, it needs to go through court, right? It needs to pass court decision.
Yeah.
And it's all based on precedents, but then again, it is all a case by case situation. So a court isn't a rubber stamp, not for the good and not for the bad, right? That's why we have them. They listen to the case and they need to judge on it.
And they judge each one
Right.
separately. Yeah.
Right. And we have, so it sounds like completely reasonable to me. Especially for a business as big as Domino's, right? It's
Oh, I can understand with
Yeah.
Domino's because there should be no restrictions, but there are,
exactly.
but you hear, I heard a number of years ago after the American with Disabilities Act was passed, that there were now a whole new predatory group of lawyers that were going around and suing businesses because their handicap parking space wasn't the right width,
Oh,
or it was a foot further from the entrance than it was allowed by code and things like that. They were going around basically shaking people down. So
Well, lawyers will do what lawyers do.
Yeah.
That's always
they're
true.
the ones that are in command of the law. So
Yeah. Or until the law stops them, right, and makes it reasonable. So there's definitely going to be a shakedown period, right? There's always ambulance chasers, right? There's always those who are pushing to sue, but still, on the surface, sounds like a good move forward.
We'll have
as
to
you
wait
said,
and
on
see.
a case by case basis, not as a blanket.
Oh yeah, doesn't sound like a blanket to me, at least not yet.
Yeah,
Oh.
they can. Saying that you're able to sue is different than mandating.
Exactly.
All right, let's go to another thing. This is a lot more exciting. A user got his revenge on the ransomware gang who encrypted his files by hacking their server and releasing the decryption keys for all victims. One of the gang's victims was Tobias Frommel, a German software developer. He was one of the victims who paid the ransom demand so he could regain access to his files. However, after paying the ransom, he also analyzed the ransomware, gained insight into how Mustic operated, and then retrieved the crook's database from their server. I know it was not legal for me, the researcher wrote in a text file he published online on Pestabine earlier Monday. And that database contained 2,858 decryption keys. I'm not the bad guy here, he added. Besides releasing the decryption key, the German developer also published a decryptor that all Mustic, and that's the name they put on that encryption ransomware, that all Mustic victims can use to unlock their files. The decryptor is available on Mega MEGA, but the author of this article said it virus total scan and usage instructions are available on the Bleeping Computer forum. In the meantime, Fromel has been busy notifying Mustic victims on Twitter about the decryptor availability, advising users against paying the ransom. This is nice that somebody can do this.
Well, sounds like the hackers, the black hat hackers, they didn't follow the
Rules.
the rules everybody needs to
Yeah.
safeguard their database.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice. I hope he doesn't get into trouble for this.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of we talked about it. You told us about a site. No more ransom. No more ransom.
No more ransom. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he contacted them and gave them the
Probably.
tool. Yeah, I hope.
But it's nice to do that, and suddenly, wow, yeah, I don't have to pay the ransom. It's right here. Of course, these guys are going to change something in there.
Yeah.
And keep on doing it. But if you did get hit by it, then you have a way out. You got a out of jail card. How they call it?
Free out of jail card.
Free out of jail card here.
Do not collect go.
No.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I've got a less sexy topic to talk about. If we can. All right. So I've been seeing, and it's partially political, but it's rarely relevant. So excuse me before that. I'm sure everybody's seen a lot about Hong Kong and China over the past couple of weeks, and seen some of the criticism of companies that pretty much are based in the U.S. kowtowing to China. And there's a couple of big examples: Activision Blizzard, the NBA, Samsung had come out with some stuff. There's just big companies that have come out and have talked to. So what's going on is Hong Kong is there's mass protests in Hong Kong that people are fighting for their freedom because China's a communist country, and we all know how that works. So, with that being the case, a lot of these companies are kowtowing to China, and people in the U.S. don't seem to understand how anything works in the world. And what I found super interesting over the past couple of weeks is the amount of control that China has over the United States and what our companies do and don't do, especially in the technology space, in the video game market and in the technology market, phones and computers. And it's just been rather interesting to watch these massive companies
cave in.
Yeah, well, it's not caving in. I mean, they're doing exactly what they need to be doing to protect, in a lot of cases, 2/3 of their business, 30% of their business, 60% of their business, depending on the company and what's going on. And there seems to be this lack of understanding on how big of a market China is for movies, video games, and technology. And all these companies are in the hot seat now because of human rights and whatnot. When in the reality is it's business, and they're doing what they need to do to protect their bottom line. And there's this people just. I mean, I don't support what I don't support what China is doing, but you've got to understand the business side of it, right?
Well, you got I mean,
so you've got these people that are ragging on these companies. Oh, I'm canceling my subscription to Blizzard because they're not standing up for human rights. Okay, but what are they supposed to do when 40% of their revenue dries up because China, who doesn't have any appeals process on anything, decides to blackball them from the entire country. And I see all these employees that work for these companies staging these walkouts. You know what would be really funny is if Blizzard said, fine, you know what? Let China blackball us and then fire all of those people. I think that would be the freaking greatest thing in the world. I think that would be fan-freaking-tastic. There just seems to be such a lack of understanding on how our global economy works. And it's super frustrating. Super, super frustrating.
Yeah, there's got to be a separation between, okay, we think that this should not be, but then, I mean, this article here talks about Apple.
Yeah, all of them.
It says a company that loves to talk about its values has this week demonstrated that when it comes to China, one of its biggest market and where most of its iPhones and other products are assembled, taking full benefit of low-cost labor, even the Steve Jobs founded company lacks a backbone. I don't know about that.
That was every single article this week.
Yeah.
Is describing that.
The company has bowed down to Chinese pressure and pulled an app from the Chinese app store that helped pro-democracy protester track cops and ensure their safety.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I find it funny. And I think if you remember back to the 2016 presidential election, there was one candidate that talked a lot about how big of a threat China was to our market.
Mhm.
And it is now rearing its ugly head, and it's the truth. And I don't blame Apple, I don't blame Blizzard, I don't blame any of these companies for bowing down to China. Again, it's where if China said, fine, you know what, Apple, no more. We're not going to export any of your phones anymore. We're going to, because the control they have, they could take over those factories.
Yeah.
And they would cripple Apple's business.
Sure.
Cripple it tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, Apple would have to lay off 90% of their workforce. So I get it.
Yeah.
But it's super frustrating to watch as somebody that just understands basic economics, watching and listening to all these outrage on both sides. This is not just a liberals are outraged.
Right.
Liberals and conservatives both are having this stupid response of, human rights. It's just very frustrating. So we need to obviously work harder to make China not such a large market for our U.S.-based companies.
Yeah, and
right? That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Not make all of our stuff in China.
We need to bring it over here.
That's the simple solution.
Yeah.
Now, if that's going to happen or not is a different thing. But it's just very, very frustrating to listen to the outrage that is just these companies have been kowtowing to China for 30 years. And now that it's struck a chord, now everybody wants to be the victim.
And it's not just the U.S. Samsung has ended mobile telephone production in China. It says on Wednesday, hurt by intensifying competition from domestic rivals in the world's biggest telephone market. The shutdown of Samsung's last China phone factory comes after it cut production at the plant in the southern city of Huzhou in June, and suspended another factory late last year, underscoring stiff competition in the country. The South Korean tech giant ceased phone production in China, follows other manufacturers shifting production from China due to rising labor costs and the economic slowdown. Sony also said it was closing its Beijing smartphone plant. I never know that Sony had a smartphone. And would only make smartphones in Thailand. Samsung, the world's top smartphone maker, said it had taken the difficult decision in a bid to boost efficiency. It added it would, however, continue sales in China. The production equipment will be reallocated to other global manufacturing sites, depending on our global production strategy based on market needs. That's what they did. They're doing what's right. They're moving it. Why they're not moving it to Korea, I don't know. But they're moving it out of China. That's the point here. That I guess this is what happens. I mean, we were the big power in the world as far as manufacturing, and when that happens, everybody wants more money and more money, and before long, it becomes, hey, we can't afford this. We can support that, and maybe the same thing is happening in China now. The labor is not that the people workers are not that cheap anymore, and it's crazy. I agree to give control to one country to have this kind of leverage on you.
And they do, and they have that complete and
Oh,
total
yeah.
leverage on us.
Yeah.
And we need to work. We need to make sure that is not the case anymore.
Right.
I mean, this should be a huge, anybody that is pissed off about what companies are doing in response to China needs to look back at our political climate and look at who's been spouting this and talking about this.
Yep.
For 3 years now.
And Gal, this is for you. System 76, the Denver-based Linux PC manufacturer and developer of Pop OS, has some stellar news for those who prefer their laptops a little more open. Later this month, the company will begin shipping 2 of their laptops model with its Coreboot Power open source firmware. They're going to come with Linux. I mean, they have other desktops that come with Linux, but now they have laptops. So maybe it's the beginning of something? Yeah?
Well,
Huh? What?
I'll be skeptically optimistic on this.
Okay.
It's not like it hasn't been tried before. I mean, Dell is selling, I think until still today is selling Linux on them.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely take a look at Pop OS and see what's behind that, and whether it's appealing to desktop users or not.
Yeah.
Looks interesting. I haven't heard about it. Thanks for the heads up.
Now, we have
I'll research.
all right. We have a big presence of Cisco in our area here.
Mhm.
And we know a lot of people that work for Cisco. And I did not hear a word about this until I read this article. Not a great, and this is from beginning of last week, not a great start to the day for Cisco employees, many of which are struggling in the face of an internal IT outage. Says the technology and networking giant confirmed in a tweet it was aware of some disruption to its IT system and is working on restoring the network. Worse, the company's corporate blog also went kaput. For a period, Cisco blog was displaying the default WordPress install page. But at the time of publication, the blog has been restored. Some customers were unable to log in through Cisco's single sign-on. So they had an internal problem. And that's bad. When you're a technology company like Cisco, that's bad. Did you hear anything about it last week? From any of the people that you know, Gal?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, one Cisco employee that's a friend of mine told me about an issue with his connection from home to work,
Mhm.
but he seems to think it's on his side. I actually just sent it to him. I wonder if if he'll check internally and discover something else.
Uh,
So
so
it says that the blog was down. It's I don't know. I don't think it's internal IT that has been affected. It seems like external stuff, probably stuff that wasn't patched properly or something like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting if we can learn something additional about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's really bad. But if anybody can weather it, it's Cisco.
But then again, if it's internal stuff that is based in Northern California, it might not have affected any of the employees over here, so they wouldn't know, right? That's why we never heard about it
Good
from our
point.
friends. Stuff, yeah. Um,
Good point.
WebEx, that's interesting. Yeah, WebEx is a complete outfit of its own.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, and you had me configure you turned me toward Firefox and you configured it with all the containers and stuff. And it's really nice that don't get any
Less
pop-ups and
tracking.
stuff like that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really nice. But listen to this now. Last week, Opera announced the launch of version 68 of its flagship desktop browser, bringing a tracker blocker that will make it harder for advertisers and others to track you while you browse the web. The company says it also has the additional benefit of speeding up page loads by up to 23%. This comes from TechCrunch. So they're having a built-in mechanism that will make it harder for advertisers and others to track you while you browse the web. It's not a pop-up blocker. It's not
Tracking. Yeah.
what?
A tracking blocker. Yeah.
Well,
Firefox has it switched on as well.
well,
Yeah. No, that's good.
yeah. Oh, it's very good. So if you're an Opera user, upgrade to version 68. And if you're a Comcast customer, Comcast's data usage meter gave thousands of customers inaccurate reading for 2 months because of a software bug, causing the broadband provider to incorrectly charge about 2,000 users for exceeding their monthly data caps. If they're saying 2,000, it's probably more like 10,000 or more, right? Comcast has admitted the error and told ours it is giving refunds and additional credits of $50 each to customers who paid data overage fees that shouldn't have been assessed. So if you're a Comcast customer, check your bill. And if you paid anything over for data that you don't think you should have paid, get in touch with them. Tell them you heard about this.
Hey, lawyer up.
Software
You
bug.
might get, instead of 50, you'll get 100.
Yep.
Yeah. This is something I've always found interesting. So ISPs, right?
Yeah.
Since you know it probably better than anyone else. ISPs, since they started, right? If there's an outage and it affects business, it frustrates the end user immensely.
Yeah.
But the ISP, the best solution for the ISP, say, hey, no problem, I'll give you a refund for that day.
Yeah.
Right. When you charge $30 for a month,
That's
a day
$1.
is $1.
Yeah.
Right. It's like on the ISP side, the return would always be negligible compared to, right, admitting I'll take responsibility for that day. It's cheap comparatively.
And
right?
it's right.
So I agree that it's right, but on the end user, even though he got what he wanted, it's never satisfying. So yeah.
Yeah, I used to do it a lot during the dial-up days.
Yeah.
And it's fine, you know, you
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not a huge cut. You completely agree to the position of the customer, but then the customer realizes that even though people agree with him, all he lost was,
The ability to check his
yeah,
mail for a couple of
yeah.
minutes. Yeah, I know.
He won't get a month off, right? He just gets a day off. So
All right. Who knew about this? When some users provided Twitter with their phone number to make their account more secure, the company used this information for advertising purposes. They said so. Twitter said so. This isn't the first time that a large social network has taken information explicitly meant for the purpose of security and then quietly or accidentally use it for something else entirely. Facebook did something similar with phone numbers provided by users for two-factor authentication. They confirmed it last year. We recently discovered that when you provided an email address or phone number for safety or security purposes, this data may inadvertently been used for advertising purposes, specifically in our tailored audiences and partner audiences advertising. That's what Twitter announcement said. In short, when an advertiser using Twitter uploaded their own marketing list of email addresses or phone numbers, Twitter may have matched the list to people on Twitter based on the email or phone number the Twitter account holder provided for safety and security purposes. So that could have been something that really makes your annoying phone calls worse because they partners and advertising got your phone number and you thought that you're giving it to them just in order to boost your security. Did anybody ever have had to use and I'm not talking about two-factor. Anybody really explain to me why it's better and more secure for them to have your phone number?
I
Why?
do not think it's better.
Well, that's what they're claiming, that they want your phone number in order to make
Oh, for them, it's one is they get a sort of rather easy way of proving that you're a human being behind it. They do not accept voice over IP numbers. Only what's called real phone numbers that are hooked up to a cellular or landline. Actually, I'm not sure about the landline either. And so for them, it makes it harder for machines to gain that type of trust. So that's why they would prefer it. It provides an automatic second factor authentication, which means you not only need to know the password, not only need to know something, you also need to have something, a physical phone that can receive a text, right? And provide a second layer of authentication. So it protects your account from being hacked, which means it protects them as well. That's why they prefer it. I don't trust it. So
Yeah.
I think the best method today are the authentication apps. They're not foolproof, but they're a lot better than the phone authentication way, because the phone authentication requires direct communication, and the the authentication applications, once they're set up, they work regardless of connection because of them based on time synchronization. And it really means you needed to be there at the day of the setup in order, or you need the information that was only available on the day of the setup. And to do that effectively, the authentication apps are the best solution, and they're the cheapest also. Doesn't cost anyone. Doesn't cost them to text. Doesn't cost you
Right.
Text messages. It's really effective.
No.
Yeah.
And abused.
Yeah. Not to
Yep.
talk about the social hacking ease of that has been demonstrated again and again. Hell, Twitter's own CEO account was hacked, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's exactly by that, targeting the phone number. So yeah.
All right. And a little bit, let's go back to Mozilla. iTerm 2 users. Do you use iTerm 2?
iTerm.
Yeah, iTerm. It is time to upgrade. A security audit sponsored by the Mozilla Open Source Support Program uncovered a critical remote code execution vulnerability in the popular open source terminal app for Mac OS.
Oh yeah, Mac OS. That's
So,
why I don't know
yeah,
about it.
well, but they found,
Mhm.
I mean, Mozilla. iTerm 2 is an open source alternative to the built in macOS terminal app, which allows users to interact with the command line shell. Terminal apps are commonly used by system administrators, developers, and IT staff in general, including security teams, for a variety of tasks and day to day operation. So, iTerm 2, I don't know why why Apple didn't find it out there. It took Mozilla to find it. But if you're using iTerm 2, you need to upgrade your application. Nick, your outfit does Apple too, right?
Hmm?
Huh?
We do what?
Apple? I mean, Mac OS and iOS.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, iTerm 2 is not an Apple application. It's something that runs on Mac.
Yeah, it's an open source
Yeah. So
that
it's not that
replaces.
Apple won't research that. Apple only cares about their own software.
Most of the problems with Windows is because of external stuff, something that they
Right, but
did not do, drivers and stuff like that.
right,
So,
that's something else. That's something
Huh.
else. This is just an application.
I wonder how
Latest
widely used it
update.
is.
Um,
I don't know.
So there's a site I use regularly called Alternative 2. If you guys don't know it, I definitely recommend alternative2.net. It's a repository of a list of software where you can search for an application that you know does what you want, and you
Mhm.
can search for alternatives to it. Alternatives in other OSs, alternatives that are free or open source. So if you search for iTerm 2 in it, for example,
Mhm.
you see alternatives for it, and you can filter by platform. The iTerm 2, it's not a scientific comparison or anything, but iTerm 2 is like twice as more popular than any other terminal application for Mac.
Okay.
So it seems like it's probably the most widespread one used.
So it is widely used.
Yeah.
Oh. So
And
yeah, if you're using
according to this, the latest version Usually has some information about the latest version, but I can't find it. So
No.
because it's this is something that frustrates me about software pages. I went to the item to software page, right? And they actually have a very detailed list, the change log, as most open source
Yeah.
project. But I looked at the change log, it says the version, but it doesn't say the date that this was published. So great, I have a version, but I don't have a date. How is that helpful? How will I know that you've already patched whatever you
Yeah.
patched?
That's
frustrating.
Well, another thing with updating Windows, Microsoft has annoyed some of its 900 million Windows 10 device users after apparently removing the use offline account as part of its effort to herd users toward its cloud-based Microsoft account. In Windows 10, you can either do it.
Really?
Yeah, apparently they took it out.
Well, then I'm glad. I installed my OS about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and I did it with an offline account.
Well,
So you're saying I wouldn't have found it?
well, no, you wouldn't find it easy.
Ah,
The offline local account is specific to one device, while the Microsoft account can be used to log in to multiple devices and comes with the benefit of Microsoft's recent work on passwordless authentication with Windows Hello.
Yeah.
The local account doesn't require an internet connection or an email address, just the username and password that Microsoft has hidden. The local account, not sorry, I jumped the line. Just the username and password that are stored on the PC. And I don't understand if they took that out, and that's the one that you don't need internet, and for the other one you do need internet. What do you do if you're
No, it actually creates a local account as well. It's similar to connecting to a domain.
okay? I don't
Okay.
know. I mean,
You can still, after you've logged in and now you're disconnected, you can still use the same username and account because
the
that's
next day,
cached locally.
the next
But
day
a month,
locally.
even a month. Yeah.
Okay.
But to set it up, you need to be hooked up.
All right. But Windows 10 users are annoyed that Microsoft has hidden the local account option when setting up a new PC or
Yeah, I see.
reinstalling Windows 10. A user on the popular Reddit thread noted that the local account option is now invisible, so it's still there.
Well, yeah, they changed the naming behind it.
It says it's invisible if the device is connected to the internet.
Yeah.
Either run the setup without being connected to the internet or type in a fake phone number a few times, and it will then give you the prompt to create a local account. What the?
No, there's actually an easier way. It says domain join instead. So the offline account option has been renamed to domain join instead. And you
Okay.
need to say domain join, and then you do not use a domain, you use an offline account. But yeah, that's
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
terrible design.
that's very clear and very makes. I mean, this
Yeah.
is, yeah, uh-huh. It's just, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
leave it to Microsoft. Leave it to Microsoft.
I mean, I get what they're doing. I hate it.
Let's see what else. Dutch police have taken down a bulletproof hosting provider that has sheltered tens of IoT botnets that have been responsible for hundreds of thousands of DDoS attacks around the world. That's from ZDNet. Servers were seized and 2 men were arrested yesterday at the offices of KV Solution BV, a so-called bulletproof hosting provider, a term used to describe web hosting providers that ignore abuse reports and allows cybercrime operations to operate on their servers. I didn't even know that such thing exists, but it's nice if that's what they are. You know where to go after them. We were talking about DDoS last week, I believe. And another thing about DDoS and the Apple and Mac, DDoS for hire services, also known as DDoS booters or DDoS stressors, are abusing Mac OS systems to launch DDoS accounts. So now the Mac is also, I mean, the Mac is joining the 21st century finally.
Let's sue Apple.
The what?
Let's sue Apple for allowing them to run DDoS software.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Well, so you really need to, I mean, anybody who's not watching their Apple because we don't have to worry about it is really sticking their head in the sand. And 2 weeks ago, UPS said that it is the first to receive the official nod from the Federal Aviation Administration to operate a full drone airline that will allow it to expand its current small drone delivery system pilots into a countrywide network. Now, we heard about it. Drones are going to deliver this, and drones are going to deliver that. I've never seen a drone in my backyard, in my front yard. I don't know anybody that had anything delivered to them via drones. There's talk that it's happening. I guess maybe it's happening in other areas. But UPS, all over the country now, they got the FAA said, yeah, okay, go for it.
Well, first we'll probably see it more and more in cinema, right? In movies.
What, you mean to bring the popcorn?
No, what I mean is they'll show you drones delivering in movies.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that will make people more comfortable with the idea or less comfortable with the idea. I don't know. And I would, one thing for sure, we'll see more and more reports about people shooting down drones that pass into their property.
I was just thinking
that will be fun.
Yeah. Take a baseball bat.
You know me, I hate the idea of guns, and that's one of the aspects of American culture that for me is really hard to swallow, but that part is going to be fun. Yeah.
I can't wait for some guy with the buckshot to just blow the UPS drone out of the sky. Yeah, the only problem with that's going to be if the FAA is regulating it, it's going to be what there's air crimes are like a specific kind of felony. Like if you fly on an airplane, it says like, oh, if you destroy a smoke detector or whatever in the bathroom, there's a special kind of felony that is committed when you're under the FAA's jurisdiction. So that'll be a good way to go to jail for a very long time. But I look forward to it. I agree. The Facebook videos of somebody blowing a drone out of the sky with some buckshot is going to be great.
Or baseball bat.
Rounds.
Baseball bat.
No, not baseball.
It's too
bat.
high. Come on. Too high.
Well, even if it's too high, it's not funny. The buckshot is just going to blow the damn thing to smithereens, and that'll be really funny. Or if it's got some like there'll be like a AC-130, like you shoot buckshot at it, and it'll shoot a whole bunch of plumes around it to disguise itself and wrap up all the buckshot. Yeah.
No, all you need is some kind of a real high power transmitter that will jam it and it'll fall down to the ground, and you keep it. And you want it back? Okay, let's of course use that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Why don't you give that a
Yeah.
try, Amnon? Please be my
Yeah, but
guest.
I'm guessing the federal government will push down on it. So if it's something, as Nick said, that if it's something that will be regulated, right, then
Mhm.
shooting these things down will be very costly for whoever tries. That's
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
it is.
Yeah.
The FAA is going to be looking over this.
Yeah.
This is not going to be what you want to screw around with.
But it's interesting that they went through the legislation route first. Remember Segway?
Yep.
Right? One of the main aspects where they lost the ability to enter the market is they caused antagonism first, right? First, they were attacked by laws instead of legislating for them beforehand. And so somebody's smarting up here.
Okay, we're technical people, and we're not. I don't consider us stupid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you think about? What comes to your head the first time you think about a drone over your house?
The federal government trying to attack me?
No,
No, not federal, but somebody's trying to
somebody's trying to spy on me.
to look at something that's not
Yeah.
theirs.
Right. Now, that's against the law.
That's true.
Now, if they don't educate the public to begin with, that if you see a UPS like a brown,
I'm guessing it'll be more of bright orange or something like
well,
that.
something. I
yeah,
mean,
it'll
so
be
nobody could be blamed from shooting it down because at this point it's
until
illegal.
the first court,
Until what?
until the first court case where somebody is jailed because he did that, and suddenly everybody knows about it.
Well,
That's what will happen.
that's a roundabout way to notify the
that's
public. Yeah.
But that's how it's going to happen. One person is going to pay the price. He might be he might get leniency by the president, I don't know, after 5 years or something, but he's going to pay the price.
Well,
It's sad. As I said, I might be optimistic, but I'm also pessimistic, cynic.
yeah, I mean, what's to say that the UPS drones are? I'm sure they have cameras, so they know where they are, or if somebody there to receive it. And what if
Oh, of
it's
course they have camera,
somewhere
but they don't
and
record anything.
what?
Of course they'll have camera, but they don't record anything, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of dicey.
Yeah.
Even though it's uh a federal thing, and the federal government said, yeah, it's okay. Or the FAA say it's okay.
Look, it's amazing technology. And as a techie, right, I get
Yeah.
excited about the idea that something like this happens.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. The part of this being controlled by large corporations and being all over the place, I see so many terrible scenarios play in my head about it. Just think about how many problems there are with birds and airplanes, and now add to the mix drones.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
So it's like,
But this is why I'm saying they cannot be flying high. They're going to fly real low.
so that means they're going to be the interaction with people, like people shooting them down, is going to happen. So they'll probably try to get legislation that allows them to go a bit higher than that, right? Than the default range of guns or whatever.
Nah, there's no such thing. I mean, they're not going to drop your box from 100
No,
feet
they
up.
will. They will go down, but they will go down only in the courtyard of whoever ordered it, which they already signed a waiver or whatever that this is going to happen via drone, right? So they'll be legally bound to allow that. look, they're already trying to set the stage by they have that Amazon security that they're selling.
Yeah.
Which opens the locks of the door, and you can sign up to allow the Amazon delivery person to unlock it, right, and put the
Groceries in your refrigerator. Yeah.
well, not in your refrigerator, but at your doorstep, right? You allow them to open your door, and yes, it's videotaped through the entire time. It's sorry for the old word, video recorded, right? Because the camera needs to be set up at the door as well. And once you have that set up, they can deliver inside your home. In a place like New York City, for example, Manhattan, right? It's important because if something stays outside, it is a lot less guaranteed to stay there until you come back than
Right.
in Morrisville, right? So, so yes, it's important for a service like that to exist. But also it means Amazon has a way, albeit they have a legalese that allows it to allows them to do it only when the delivery person comes, but the technology allows them to open your door. This is setting the ground for you to trust the company while you're not around, right? And drones is one of the future steps of that. So, but what I find really intriguing about this whole situation with drones and talking about them as delivery mechanisms is when Jeff Bezos, right, revealed this in a video a while back, I think 2014, people were laughing out their asses thinking he's pranking the world, right?
Okay.
And this is becoming a reality. Everybody's talking about it as it's becoming a reality. It's no longer a joke. And that is one aspect that I find fascinating about this. It's like, it doesn't
No.
make sense, but then again, it's happening.
Hunter made a good point in the chat. Said what will happen is the first time one of those kills someone or damages property, the company will be sued out of business.
Probably.
They
Well,
the,
I don't know about out of business, but there'll definitely be legislation.
No, because you'll sign as Gall said, you'll sign a waiver that when your package comes via drone, you waive all your rights to suing them. I mean,
No, then
yeah,
I don't. Then don't
But then
bring it.
again, if it drops out of the sky on somebody else's property,
oh, that's a
that
different
guy,
story.
yeah, that
Yeah,
guy
no.
never, right?
Yeah,
So-
no, that's a different story. But you know damn well that UPS isn't going to get sued out of business if a drone damages somebody's property.
Not out of business, but it's definitely going to create noise, and definitely they need to deal with that. And that's definitely something that's going to happen. I don't know about killing, but definitely damages.
Well, we'll see. Those drones are not your 1995 drones that you can just hold in your hand. Those are going to be good-sized drones. They'll cut your face, maim you if they happen to fly into you, right?
Probably.
Ah,
Hey, they need to defend themselves somehow from the government.
Yeah.
They'll have guns.
they'll have guns. And the last thing I have here is last week, a federal appeals court affirmed that the Federal Communications Commissions acted lawfully when it's scrapped the U.S. government's net neutrality rules in 2017, but it opened the door for state and local governments to introduce their own regulations designed to treat all web traffic equally. And that's where it was supposed to be in the beginning. Leave it up to the local authorities. If they want to do it, at least maybe they'll listen better than if you do it across the board through the federal government. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if anybody in North Carolina or your state decides, hey, we're going to bring something to a vote. What do you think about this? Well, I don't know. All right. Gal, why don't you tell us a little bit what's new in cord cuttings? Anything new?
Uh, what I think I talked about this either last week or 2 weeks before. Flex, one of the prominent media players, media player application servers, is combining efforts with Warner Brothers and I think Miramax as well,
Right.
discussing about providing free content, ad-based free content through their application, through their server application. And that's an interesting twist because up until now, Plex was all about user-owned content. And obviously, majority, I can't say if it's everyone, but a majority of its users are using it with what would be considered pirated content by the
partly, I would
likes,
say. Partly.
yeah, by the like of Warner Brothers. I mean, even if you are ripping your Blu-ray collection into your hard drive, the way the Movie Production Association sees it is they see it as piracy. They say to back up your Blu-ray, just buy another Blu-ray, right? Just have two, put one in a safe. So the concern is that with the cooperation with a large media company like Warner Brothers, that the data usage about the users, about their own content, will be sold. Okay. The first thing, and this is what I described, I think, when I talked about it, that happened was that an employee from Plex on a Reddit about the subject came forward. He is not a spokesman for Plex. He came in on his own accord, at least from the way he wrote the answer. And he explained that even Plex doesn't have particular detail about what is the content that is in the user library. They, on purpose, they do not collect that. They collect a lot of data, but not the names of the content, for example. They collect a lot of metadata. And so Plex positioned themselves in a place where, one, they promise the user that they're not collecting that data, and two, technologically, at least from what the guy says, right, they don't even have access to it when it gets back to them, which is great. It's great news if it's true, and of course we need to take him by his word. The interesting advance was something was published, either I saw it on Reddit yesterday or the day before, and it was like a news, a PR news release about this, and or a news article about this, and the discussion was, yes, we have tons of information that we can share with these new media companies, and it was more like a pitch to the media companies. But one of the interesting part was that it was clearly stated that they'll share everything about what's happening with the media companies' side of the application. So let's say they'll share with Warner Brothers everything that I do about the media I'm streaming from Warner Brothers, whether I'm skipping, whether I'm pausing, whether I'm going back and forth, how many times I watch something, stuff like that, how much time it took me to browse until I chose to see something, but they will not be privy to what I have in my personal collection. So that was an interesting, it seems like they understand that they will lose a huge part of the user base, if there is even a glimpse of suggestion that that piece of information might be available outside of your server. So
well, but they may have to play or to cater to the law.
I don't think they do not cater to the law. There is one aspect that they are at risk with, and they might need, which is, I always find, is the reason I'm using Plex, right? And I find that the fact that it exists bewilders me, and that it hasn't been shut down, and that is the sharing in between. For example, I hooked you up via your TV application for Plex, right? And whenever you want, you can watch content that is on my server.
Right.
That is mind-blowing, because it's, one, very easy to set up. You don't need to, and there's no real risk for you, because you are not sharing anything. It's not like a torrent streaming application that also shares and puts you at risk. You're just looking at stuff that, theoretically, I loaned you my VHS cassette. Right?
Yeah, right.
But we did it without you even coming to my home, taking anything from me, and at the same time, I can watch it as well. This is the most amazing feature the Plex has to offer, and I can say that everyone in the community is really, really weary of whether this is going to stay this way forever. The good news is, there are open source projects already, right, that provide the same type of ease of use. True that it isn't 100% available, ubiquitous as Plex is, as there is no dedicated apps on smart TVs and all of that for that, but it's still widely available, and there's mobile apps, and there's enough for remote streaming to actually work.
Yep, Plex rules.
Right now, Plex rules.
Yep.
Oh, it rules.
All right. Nick, anything you wanted to add?
No, sir.
Everything okay in Wilmington?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Nothing to complain about.
All right. Well,
everything's going good at work in the IT field. Everything's good. Everything's good. Yankees won last night. First game of the ALCS. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Steelers are probably going to lose tonight. That'll be fine. We'll be good. Everything's great.
I was I was telling Nick last night about something that Chick-fil-A is doing for the Hurricanes, and
yeah, misled me big time.
Well, I was not.
Well, you misled me big time.
I was not aware that this was only in the triangle.
Yeah,
but
so
if you're in the,
like,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, it's your story. You can tell it. Go ahead.
Katie came over and she said, "Let me have your phone." I said, "Why?" She said, "The Hurricanes have a promotion with Chick-fil-A that every time they win, you can get a free Chick-fil-A sandwich, and you have to have the Chick-fil-A app on your phone in order to do that. You don't have to be at the game, but you have to have the app, and you go in and you get the free the next day.
Oh, wow.
You have to do it the next day.
Too bad it's Sunday today and they're closed. Our listeners.
Well, no. If it's today, if the game, like last night, it was at 8 and they close at 8, then you go Monday and you get it.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's only, and they went, and last night we had the supper courtesy of Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
We put it on our phones, and they went and they got the sandwiches.
What's the app? The Chick-fil-A app?
It's the Chick-fil-A app.
By the way, it's a good app too, because there's like a rewards program in there. You get like they give you free stuff over, as you buy more and more. So
okay, this is actually good. Okay, now think about this.
Yeah.
Okay,
What?
think about why they're doing this.
Oh,
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Let him finish the story first.
Okay,
so
go
I
ahead.
called.
So
So
I'm
so
chatting
when
with
when
Amnon last night. I just got back from Harbor Freight, spending all the money I have, and Amnon goes, "Oh, look, you can go get free dinner." I was like, "Oh, this is great," and I was like, "Let me do some research." And Amnon goes, "No, no, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine." So I do some research, and do I realize that he is just full of shit, and it is only valid in the select triangle area stores, not in Wilmington.
Yeah.
And I could have imagined if I showed up there, I would have looked like a real jackass showing up there trying to get a free sandwich.
Yeah.
So thanks, Amnon, for
Well,
bringing me
I
to
mean,
the
look,
highest of
look.
highs and then bringing me to the lowest of lows, all in a very short period of time.
You
Hey, highest of highs. We're just talking about Chick-fil-A, right?
Hey, I don't know. Have you ever had their? You ever had a?
I don't
Chick-fil-A?
like them.
You don't
I don't-
what?
Oh,
I
come
don't like
on.
All right, you can go back to wherever you're from. Get out of here with this. Yeah, I don't like Chick-fil-A nonsense.
I don't like them.
What don't you like?
My
Well-
son loves them. I don't like them.
What
I
don't
don't
you
like
like?
the taste
Chicken
of chicken.
sandwich?
I don't like the taste of chicken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But do you like
That's
the
okay.
fries?
Their chicken, I mean, I like chicken elsewhere, but I don't like the way they do it.
Have you ever had their medium number 2 meal? The spicy
Um,
chicken.
Yeah, that's what my son loves.
That's the good one.
Medium number 2.
With the little sriracha.
Huh?
I wish they were open today. I want Chick-fil-A so bad.
It's just
So
Chick-fil-A,
anyway,
man.
so
It's a
if
big
you're in the triangle, you can try it.
Yeah. Good luck.
In the triangle.
I'm gonna drive all the way up there to get a 4-hour round trip to get a free
Yeah.
$3
I
sandwich.
know.
deal. Wait. So if you go in, you draw a triangle around yourself, and you say, "I have been selected." That doesn't work.
Very
Here's
funny.
the thing: the people are so nice at Chick-fil-A, they're liable to give it to me anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't think I don't.
No, they'll just turn you down nicely. That's all. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you know what? I guess that's better than everything. Better than the alternative.
Yeah,
Nice being turned down nicely.
yeah.
Anyway.
I can see the comparison to a McDonald's place
Jesus.
on a drive-through at 11 p.m. Turning you down not so nicely. So yeah.
How about a McDonald's drive-through any time of the day, turning you down nicely and just being awful and mean and incompetent?
I can't say
Oh, I can.
I've never experienced awful and mean, but yeah, I see despair in their eyes.
They're all synonymous. Awful, mean, incompetent. They're all the same.
Okay.
Hot take.
Wait,
Now I'm
this
pissed.
time
Now
of
I'm
day.
pissed.
So back to my point.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think they're doing it?
They need people to download their app so they can collect user data.
Right. And what's that user data?
They can.
Oh
sell it.
yeah, it's money.
Yeah, but see
No,
now this is.
what is that user data?
I don't know. What do you mean?
It's,
What-
email.
what
Email
permission-
addresses and email addresses and phone numbers and what?
And what else? What else? What's the first thing in application for a food franchise?
Permission.
Oh, your
Mission.
location. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, for your location. And you get push notifications, right?
Yep.
Because they say, "Hey, we have a sale," or "We have a
Mhm.
check
Oh, I
this
mean,
out,"
it's
or, "Are you
business.
hungry?"
It's
right?
business.
Yes.
I agree, it's business, but understand what you're selling. You're not getting anything for free.
Oh no, who said you get anything? Well,
I am not getting anything for free. That is an absolute
So-
fact, Carl. Thank you.
So it's all nice and dandy. Install the app, get your stuff free, and the first thing you do, uninstall it.
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me that when I open the app and the first thing it says is find a restaurant and I click find and then it asks me to use my location data and I click
Exactly.
always allow, it's gonna now, oh geez, it knows where I am. This is a catastrophe.
Right. And it knows when you're 20 feet from 200 feet from the store, it knows to ping you, "Hey, have you checked Chick-fil-A lately?" And suddenly you look up and you see Chick-fil-A. Surprise, surprise.
You know what? Okay, Amnon, I know we got to go. One quick thing before
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
I've noticed myself a lot recently. I am buying things based on advertising a lot more than I used to, specifically food. I've seen a lot of commercials for different things that people are bringing out,
Mhm.
and I've specifically gone there to get it.
So
I've
are you
never
going?
done that in the
So are you
past.
going to Chick? Oh no, it's closed today.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Chick-fil-A, but
Yeah.
like, so I saw a commercial for a new burger that Sonic had out the other week.
Mhm.
I decided I was going to try it. I've never done that in the past, and I've just started doing that. I don't know
There's
what.
nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's how
I'm
you
not saying
find
there's
out.
anything wrong, but
Yeah.
I've never found myself to be somebody that's intrigued by advertising. Like, you see advertising and you just kind of zone out. But I've found myself recently, only with food. Maybe that's the problem.
You're not
Going,
eating well.
I'm not eating. Well, that's fact.
Between us, you're growing up.
Yeah, but it should be the opposite. I'm growing up. I shouldn't be falling for the advertising trap.
It's not a trap. I mean,
Well,
you're
yeah, but
using
like,
it.
so I tried Zaxby's
Look,
Zen
look,
Station
listen,
sandwich
listen,
2 weeks ago.
Listen,
'Cause I saw
you
the
don't
commercial.
you don't go out and buy every ad at every advertisement. You
You're
say,
right, I
well,
have a
I've
bunch
never
of car
had that.
payments.
You're probably saying to yourself, I never had that.
Yeah.
Let me go try it. I want
Yeah.
to see what
But I've
they
never
told.
found, like, I can count 3 things that I've recently done. McDonald's spicy chicken nugget things, a new Sonic burger, and something at Zaxby's. I've never been
Yeah.
one in the past to be like, oh, let's buy this advertisement thing I saw. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna start a
Disclaimer,
YouTube
we are
channel.
not paid by Zaxby's, McDonald's, or what was the third one?
Sonic. They did send me a free voucher because I complained that their service was awful, so that worked out. It works. Okay. Emma,
All
get
right.
us out of here. It's rapidly falling
guys.
down the hill. Hurry. Abort.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Gal. And Spence never came back, did he?
No, I think he probably had to go.
Thanks, Spence. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everyone, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Don't forget about it. And sooner or later, Nick is going to have his Against the Norm back on the internet, and you'll be able to enjoy it. We'll let you know when the time comes. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.